going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner.
Man, I'm confident in our offense. That's for sure.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube. Also, rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. We continue to raise money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, so you can look down in the description and consider donating to their amazing cause. PayPal, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing pretty good, Brad. I'm a little sandy, just from volleyball and everything.
Nice.
But yeah, doing pretty good. I'm still waiting to watch Barbie and Oppenheimer. I'm trying to get that fit into my schedule. This weekend I wasn't able to, but I heard it seemed like they're both good. So I don't know if you watched them, Brad, but it seems like either one you take, it's a pretty good movie. But for me, I definitely want to see Oppenheimer.
Yeah, same. Because I find World War II history like so it's so interesting because it's like such a dark time, but it's just so fascinating about all the things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard that like at the end of Oppenheimer, you're just kind of like, what did I just see? Like people were saying it's like a horror movie, and I'm like that sounds insane. I normally don't like history, but it's like if it's World War II history, it's fascinating. It's so cool. And Barbie's not supposed to be that bad, which is, it sounds so weird to say, but I've heard guys actually tell me, they're like, yeah, dude, I went in and it was good.
Hey, Brad, I mean, you're starring in it, right? As Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling. Yeah. You
always get the Ryan Gosling.
I get Reynolds, which it's like the best compliment, but I'm like, no. No, like I appreciate it, but no. But yeah, it's like, maybe maybe it's like when he was Deadpool, when his skin was peeling off, like that. And then they're like, that's just like Brad. So,
oh, come on, Brad. No. Just like, yeah,
they're like, that makes it look like him. But no, so today's show, we have like a quadruple header. We're going through a lot of stuff today. We are going through camp studs because I've been talking a bunch. It's time for PayPal to say who he likes out there. Then we're going to be breaking down some pass rushers because there's some big news. And I kind of mentioned this last episode or like last little bit of an episode about this, that I think it could be triggering the Bears to eventually sign a pass rusher sooner rather than later. Also, who needs to step it up this week and we want to see more out of. And last but not least, quick little discussion on contracts and do we think anyone's going to be re-signed, what we think might have to happen in order for someone to get re-signed as well. But PayPal, like I was saying, man, I was talking everybody's ear off this entire week. On Thursday's show, you literally just asked me questions. I was talking nonstop. It's time for you to talk about it, and I will sit back and listen. PayPal, what do you think?
Yeah, I can't sit back now and just sip my prebiotic soda anymore. No, but camp was it was awesome just hearing all the positive things, and it wasn't just like one player that was focused. I feel like last year it was all like, all right, Jaquan Brisker and Eddie Jackson are stealing the show, but then there was no other highlights. Like it was very just dry and nothing else was happening. And we're like kind of praying Justin Fields was doing good, and there was still like all those turnovers, and he just was like every other day it seemed like he was bad and then good and then bad and then awful and then good. But man, like there's just so much positive from our wide receivers. Like it just sounds like DJ Moore, just the guy. Aaron Cruikshank is just kind of someone that's just awesome to have a guy to watch that could potentially help. And root for and have like a depth piece potentially. But yeah, even Darnell Wright, it was awesome. Was it yesterday? The other day where he talked about how he's doing his he did his wide receiver training instead of the offensive line training, and that's why he did so good when they kind of saw if he was in shape for the offensive line. So great things from the offense, and the defense, Brad, like has been good, like awesome from offense. Defense, it's good. Like it sounds like there's just so much energy from them, which is like what you want, and that's how a defense creates turnovers. I think it's more of like an energy and kind of like a presence thing of like really
Yeah.
fighting to rip the ball out and create turnovers. But it just seems like a defensive line, man, is just still not there yet. But the secondary is coming together with Tyreek Stevenson and Kyle Gordon has been kind of a stud, stepping up and really, you know, getting his spider senses and earning his nickname now.
Yeah, I agree. Because every time that I would see him with Spider-Man, I'm like, oh man, but Spider-Man is good. And like he was not good last year. And now, yeah, he's looking phenomenal, looking very good. And also, too, I want to mention your boy, Terrell Smith.
Yeah.
He caused that interception to Tremaine Edmonds. So they showed it on the replay. The Bears posted it where he was in coverage and knocked it up. And then Edmonds was able to get the ball and made the play. So yeah, a little rookie action right there, but I agree with you. You said it great with Fields. It is that consistency. I think it was Brendan Segru out of, I forgot what show he's on, but he tweeted this out where he talked about, here's my notes from last year. And he kind of showed how training camp was. Because for the people that doubt training camp, yes, there's positives, but we've said this on the show. It's about the consistency. The people that are constantly making headlines, constantly looking good are the ones that look good. It's just when you see like Crookshank's a good example. I liked what I saw. He made that one-hand catch, nothing else after that. Right?
Mhm.
Like he's not going to go and just ball out, but the people that are consistently doing it, that's what they're going to be at the NFL level and what they're going to be at the regular season or like some variation, but the arrow pointing up. And yeah, I think that's the coolest part, but anything else that you want to say about this first week of training camp before we go through what might happen this week?
Man, it's weird. Like we honestly, it wasn't as surprising as like, it was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna see all this new stuff. And like I think we're all pretty spot on and we kind of knew kind of where the Bears were like prior to even training camp. Like we knew that DJ Moore, like, okay, he's gonna be that number one. We knew Justin Fields is gonna take a step up. We knew Darnell Wright is gonna be, this behemoth of a man. And we knew this linebacking core was just gonna be absolutely elite. So it was like, obviously I love training camp and hearing all this stuff, but if you really think about it, it was like we kind of were already having we already kind of knew what the Bears were. So I
Yeah.
guess that's a good thing.
So I want to ask you this, and I want to ask everyone else watching out on YouTube. Let us know in the comments and in the live chat. What is your favorite storyline so far, PayPal? Just if you had to just pick one so far, like headline,
Ooh.
storyline, something that is going on in camp that you're like, this makes me excited. This makes me bear down.
Oh, okay, exciting, like a positive one. Okay,
Yeah.
because I was gonna say Chase Claypool. That's the one I just want to watch so bad. But if I want to say positive one, I mean, oh, man, maybe Brad. Maybe I have to think about this one. Maybe do you
Okay.
have one? I have some I want to say, but I'll make sure I get the right one out.
For me, it's because what I think is there's that meme out there of this girl who looks like she has daddy issues. I'll put it that way, as PG as possible. That says, "Oh my God, you're gonna make me bear down," like that. Where you're just like, "Oh man, look at it's Justin Fields." Seeing every throw that he's making, you see it in the highlights, you hear about it, you see it in person. He's making the throws, and the biggest difference is when you saw those throws in the highlights, that was just highlights, and now he's making those consistently. And that to me is my favorite storyline because if we said it, if he can throw, you already know his superstardom with his feet. He's going to be able to run if he wants to. But if he can throw it, like if he can throw it and have that accuracy and have that arm, whoo, like my gosh, let's go. So that's my favorite storyline because if Fields has been looking good, and if he's putting it together, this team is going to go far.
Yeah, honestly, with that, I think that's perfect, Brad. I would say DJ Moore kind of goes with that storyline. My favorite one, honestly, I was kind of in between Kyler Gordon just being really, really good and kind of earning his nickname type of thing. But I gotta say Cole Kmet, like getting that contract extension,
Okay.
I just think
Yeah.
it's a really good like it just shows what the Bears are trying to be in the future. And like Cole Kmet is kind of an embodiment of our team now and who we're trying to be, like just very disciplined, very smart, like come to work every day and
Yeah.
just work your butt off, you know? And it was so cool hearing that Cole Kmet, like once he heard, he let his teammates know, and it just seemed like all the teammates were just rooting for him, and we're just like so like even more excited than he was about the extension. So
That's
it's like
awesome. Yeah.
that was something that I was like, that is super cool. Like it's not like he gets an extension and no one cares or everyone's like, oh man, like he's getting the bag, like
Yeah.
he's not part of it, it's like everyone's like, he deserves it, like, let's go, Cole, like, hyped for him, which I just kind of think that shows what this team is.
And you reminded me of this too, where like the two main people that he had to resign, or Ryan Poles had to resign, was at quote unquote non-premium positions, as like the analytics community will tell you.
Mm.
Linebacker Roquan Smith and running back David Montgomery. He didn't sign both. He traded one. He let another one walk to a divisional rival. So it's nice for him to be like, hey, we'll reward you. Here's the number. And also, too, we haven't talked about this. Here, I'll jump to our last segment. We won't go through it too crazy, but just with contracts, Cole Kmet's deal is incredible. I was
Mhm.
looking at it on Spot Rack and Over the Cap. So 12 and a half, that makes him at 12 and a half a year is about what was it? 10th. It's like ninth. He's tied for ninth and 10th for average per year, which is kind of where
Wow.
he should be. But also my favorite piece is he was able to take some on this year. They added an additional 3.5 million to this year's cap, which we're already like, so now it's like down to 30 million. And
Wow.
then every single year is $11.6 million a year, and there's an out in 2025. Like, it's such a good deal where he's getting paid well. He got a lot of guarantees. It's a win-win for everybody. It's a great deal.
Honestly, with how he's been and just the confidence that we've had, this team has had in him this offseason makes me like I'm on like the Cole Kmet train of like I could
Yeah.
see him being in the Pro Bowl this year. So it's like if we're paying him like a top, a 10th, you know, tight end like in the league, like that's a steal.
Yeah.
Which I think it's only up from here for him. Like I think he's gonna be top 5 sooner or
He
later.
can he can definitely take that next step. But let's actually talk about the Bears potentially taking the next step with their defensive end spot. I'll move it back to the pass rusher. So I posted this out as our YouTube thumbnail, YouTube description, probably the same description in the podcast notes. But something big happened that I think is going to influence the Bears, and that is Danielle Hunter from the Vikings just re-signed. And the big reason why I think that's important is because that's one domino that just fell in this whole pass rushing circumstance, because the Bears do need an edge rusher. And just for clarity, because I saw someone post comment on my tweet that Danielle Hunter, yes, he's an outside linebacker, but he plays more defensive. He would play defensive end in our scheme.
Mhm.
So because of this, right, we know that Ryan Poles does not like to go too aggressive, right? He's patient. He's very, very zen when he makes his decisions. And to me, this is just my feeling, is I feel like he wanted to see what happened with Danielle Hunter. Could he get him? Because you're talking about a Pro Bowl defensive end that you could add to your roster. Now, the defensive ends that are available, free agents. We have Yannick Ngakoue, Jadeveon Clowney, Justin Houston, Melvin Ingram, Carlos Dunlap, Anthony Barr, who's kind of like a tweener, Jason Pierre-Paul, Vinny Curry, Carl Nassib, and for a trade, Chase Young might still be available. Just put him out there. Carl Lawson and Bryce Huff. Now, the big reason why I think that this is even just a big domino too is now that he's gone, now the Bears can say with him off, is Chase Young even an option? Because if so, let's wait. And let's see him play the first preseason game. Can he actually play a preseason game? And then Carl Lawson and Bryce Huff, Aaron Rodgers just reduced his salary, so now are they no longer going to be casualties, and now you just have to go with the free agent pool? So PayPal, I guess with all that being said, am I crazy for my Danielle Hunter theory? I want to get your take on that.
No, I think that's how the NFL works. It's like once one thing happens, it's the domino falls, and then it just kind of that's when people start being like, oh crap, yeah, let's get this deal done for defensive ends, or even you see what Danielle Hunter signed for, and then like the agent for Yannick Ngakoue is like, Danielle Hunter got paid this much, I should get paid more. Like I'm better than him, or
I get
whatever.
Sacks.
Yeah, I get more.
I get the same amount of sacks as him.
Yeah, I got the same amount of sacks as him. So like I should get paid like him or something. So yeah, I think that kind of triggers it. But man, like there's still decent names out there to even like, I still hope and pray that we do get Yannick Ngakoue, but like there are still guys that we could potentially, some veterans like a Carlos Dunlap. Like I don't know how good Carl Nassib still is, but like when he was on the Raiders, it seemed like he was doing good as like kind of like a speed rusher. But like there's still those good veterans, but it's like we need just how this team is built. A younger guy like Yannick Ngakoue would just be great to kind of grow with, like have a long-term deal with, like a 4-year deal, and just kind of grow with this team.
So I have a question for you, and also everybody watching, feel free to comment down who you want the Bears to get at defensive end. But PayPal, you can only pick one. Who are you signing, or what are you doing if you're the Bears?
Yeah, it's what I said. 4-year deal, Yannick Ngakoue. I mean, it's like we need that number one. And I'm tired of just getting like these average Joes at defensive line. We need like a guy to like actually be the guy to get all because I mean, we don't have the guy right now. Like we were hoping maybe Dominic Robinson would get better. We were hoping, Travis Gibson was kind of emerging. It just doesn't seem like that right now. So it's like we need one of them.
And we talked about it too, like Terrell Lewis. Terrell Lewis is a good story. He's been showing flashes, but he's more going to be, it's more flashes in the sense that you want him as your backup.
Yeah.
And he can have a resurgence and he can do a lot better, which you'd love. But especially when you have like Houston and Clowney and Ngakoue still around, they're right there. And and also I want to bring up something about Chase Young, because PayPal, I don't think I've said this on this show. I watched every snap of Chase Young last year. That's there's not a punchline. I watched every snap of Chase Young. And I got to say, the thing that I noticed about him was you saw his injury plague him, because you watch early film, he's just like flying off the line. But with this, you could tell that he just was like favoring his knee. You could tell something was wrong, where he wasn't plowing through someone. He would try a move, and if that move didn't work, you could tell that he's like, I don't want to chance it anymore. He wasn't as, it wasn't as like dominant as we've seen. And the guy that I saw on tape was not someone that you'd want to give a $20 million deal to. And Ryan Poles, we know how he is with injuries, where what he did with Ogunjobi, he's probably looking at this going, show me. Show me he's good. Show me this person can play. Because, if he can play, and it was just the first year back from the injury, he was tender on it, and now we'll get back to his normal self. Awesome. But, watching the snaps, you're like, oh,
yeah. As cool as it is to be like, hey, we got Chase Young, and say that name be like, oh my gosh, we got Chase Young. Yeah, it's not the same Chase Young like we're talking about when he came in as an absolute like animal.
Like if I
I
saw it, yeah, I'd be like,
yeah,
whew, that's risky.
yeah, yeah, right. It'd be super risky. And I mean, it always just comes down to I think it's a huge red flag if you talk to any Washington, I was gonna say, the
Yeah.
R words, the
Commodores, the
the
commanders,
commanders,
comrades, yeah.
or whatever they're gonna change their
Comanche,
name to
one of
next.
them, yeah.
Yeah,
The Washington C words.
yes, yeah, the Washington C words. But yeah, they man, now you just got me. But yeah, they if you talk to any like their fans, they want Chase Young gone. Like, and I think that's a red flag. Like they
Yeah.
want him gone because from what I've heard, like he looks better when he was not on the field. Like their defense was better when he was not on the field. And I mean, I didn't watch all their games, but Washington fans did, and it's like I kind of trust their word. Like I feel like like us as huge Bears fans, like we know our team the best. So just listen to the fan base, and they want Chase Young gone. So I was like, I'm not taking him.
It reminded me of, to put it into Bears fans terms, it reminded me of when Khalil Mack would play and he like obviously was injured, where
Yeah,
you have quote unquote the best player on the field, but they're not fully healthy and they're kind of hurting the team a little bit. And yeah, he did make plays, but he missed a handful of surprisingly missed a lot of tackles, which doesn't really have much to do with your knee when you're on the line. It was just people running by his arms where normally he'd make those tackles. So yeah, I had to bring up Chase Young, but I'm team Justin Houston. You get the vet. Also, he can just do it all, and he can bring that leadership, all around good guy. And I think that that's just kind of a no-brainer. But the Bears do have rumors around Justin Houston and Yannick Ngakoue. Like I mentioned, let me know in the comments who you think the Bears will be going after with that. But PayPal, next segment, step it up. This week, training camp resumes again tomorrow. We'll just kind of go back and forth. I guess, who's kind of your number one person that needs to step it up? And same thing, in the comments, let me know who you think should step it up, who needs to step it up. And this isn't like they suck and they're bad. It's more of, we'd like to see more out of them.
yeah,
and have more headlines from them.
yeah. Honestly, the one I kind of like the most is, I think, Khalil Herbert. We got to hear him more, like positive stuff about him pass blocking really well. We haven't heard him actually be like, oh my, like I haven't heard anything from him being like, oh my gosh, Khalil Herbert, he's pass blocking well. Confirmed he's going to be the number one running back.
Yeah, that is true.
And that's something for me. I honestly am like, kind of step it up. It sounds like he just kind of needs to switch his mentality. That's what he kind of said in his interview. That was the hardest thing for him to learn pass blocking, was the mentality of basically trying to run a guy over. So get that mentality fixed, get the know where to go, know how to just protect the quarterback, because that's going to get you those number one reps. And I do like I like our other running backs, but if we can have Khalil Herbert out on the field a lot, I'm a big fan, because I love him as a runner.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, he glides out there. When you see him compared to Roshan, his head's on a swivel every time he goes. Donta just looks like the veteran, and Herbert just glides. It's smooth. It's smooth sailing. It's a beautiful thing. But yeah, I agree with you. And that's a perfect example of, he hasn't been bad. It's just, yeah, you'd like to. I forgot who tweeted it out. It might have been Nicholas Moriano, but somebody tweeted that that there was a blown pass rep on the first day of practice, and Khalil Herbert was at fault, and he was just in the wrong spot. And that's the biggest thing, is being in the right spot, because it always seems like when someone's coming on the left side, Khalil Herbert's on the right. it's like we just want you to be in the way. Like
Yeah.
that's what he needs to do. So I like that.
He's getting bigger. At least his size. If you saw him in his interview, he's like,
Yeah.
he's kind of he's chunky now in a good way. Like he's big.
Yeah,
So
he is 5'9",
he should be
212.
able to block guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like get in the way, do something, just keep Justin Fields up. For mine, I'm gonna say the one that needs to step up is Travis Gibson because we talked about it with Terrell Lewis. Terrell Lewis playing better. What is he going to do? He's going to take Travis's job. And I hate saying that because Travis Gibson was, I think last year I said he was, or 2 years ago, I said that he was like my favorite.
Yeah.
And now he's on the chopping block. And I mentioned it at camp. I didn't really, you saw like he looked a little awkward out of his stance, which is weird because that's what he did in Tulsa. He put his hand in the dirt. So you kind of hope that he changes it, but he needs to show something this week and really demonstrate that during practices. And it's the opportunity's there. But if the Bears end up signing a defensive end, now you have to beat out Rasheem Green, who I don't think is a huge dominant person, but he is starting. So it shows what the Bears think of him. And then obviously Walker, and they're not going to cut they're not going to cut Dominic Robinson after starting last year. So to me, Travis, this is your contract year. You got to show off, even though that you're the highest rated defensive lineman in Madden. That's more of a bash on Madden, but to me, he's the number one person that needs to step up.
I agree. And yeah, with my number 2, I guess I'm going offense, Brad.
Okay.
I think Chase Claypool, like we know how everything's been kind of going with him. He has been working out and everything, but it's just you haven't heard like a amazing highlight catch from him. You haven't really heard like great things from him, like on the field. Like I think I'm a little more high on him now. Like now that we know his injury is not bad. I remember we saw he wasn't on PUP and it was like, oh my gosh, like
what are you doing
here? Yeah, like he must have not been training over over the summer, but it's just show that you have that connection with Justin Fields. Show us that you know the playbook. Like show us just like why we got basically I still like saying it's a first round pick because it technically is.
It was.
It was 32nd. So show us why we got rid of a first round pick for you. And it's just he has such high expectations, which stinks, but also that's why we brought you over, is to just make this job easier for Justin Fields.
Well, I'll kind of disagree or like a little bit with you because I think he has been doing some highlight plays where I know like when I was out there, he would do something well, but to me, it's more of consistency because there was some drops, there's some just spots where he doesn't look great. But to me, he has been at least showing some stuff. But yeah, obviously, if Darnell Mooney is still kind of banged up, he's number 2. He's got to step up for sure. So I like that. I'm trying to think because I don't want to double dip with defensive ends because Dominic. Actually, you know what? I will. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to double dip with defensive ends. I'm going to go Dominic Robinson because Dominic Robinson, same thing, same story. This is your second year. Last year was supposed to be the redshirt season. This year, and he said it in his interview, he's not the same person anymore. He's a defensive end. He's not the wide receiver, quarterback, do-it-all player that he was at Miami of Ohio. He's a defensive end. So now I expect defensive end type of production. So that's what's big for me is I need to see him as a defensive end, see him step it up. But PayPal, let's do one more. So who is your last step it up player?
Yeah, my last one is kind of weird, but honestly, it's PJ Walker. Like it sounds like he just has been kind of having some turnovers. We need a second quarterback to kind of trust for when Justin Fields hopefully he doesn't get injured, but if he ever goes down, which it just happens with running quarterbacks, at least one time during the season, they're going to go down. And I just wish I want to have more confidence in our backup to be like, hey, like if Justin Fields goes down, like PJ Walker will come in and get the job done. Not
Okay.
saying he has to like, you know, show us this amazing like just be out like outrageous, but just kind of be comfortable. Be like, hey, okay, we got PJ Walker. Like he's throwing good, good routes, like all that. Like, he doesn't have to be amazing, but just kind of have that confidence in him.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. The other last two, I'm actually going to just throw in two because I'm realizing I should have just thrown this one before. Darnell Wright, I want to see him step it up, not meaning that he's bad, but I don't want to hear this like Terrell Lewis beat him on the outside. He just was stonewalling people. Yeah, there's no pads, but I just want to see him out. I don't like hearing that he was beaten by Terrell Lewis. It would have been a sack, but they went over Darnell Wright. I want to hear less of that and just more of Darnell Wright held his own. But the big one that I want to call out for stepping it up, Tyreek Stevenson. To me, whether it's Terrell Smith, I mean, obviously if Terrell Smith is doing better, I just think that Tyreek Stevenson has a higher ceiling. I think he can do more, and I think he needs to step it up and really just kind of showcase what he's all about. So that was the big person for me that I want to see at least do a little bit more. And speaking of stepping it up, I just realized on YouTube I wasn't even switching graphics, which I should have been. So I need to step it up too this week. This is what I'm getting at. And here, just for the sake of it, I'll throw on the Tyreek Stevenson graphic. Also, side note on it, we haven't had a single comment, and I'm pretty sure there's something busted with our live chat. So for those commenting in the live chat, because we've had like over 100 cumulative out there, and not a comment. So my guess is that it's busted.
Man, step it up, YouTube. Step it up. Brad. I haven't done it. Well, I haven't done anything yet, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it's not my time yet.
Yeah.
Maybe next week.
Well, step it up, YouTube. I trimmed a little bit off the front of our training camp review, like the when I came back day 2 last big show, right? I trimmed it. YouTube messed it up. And it's literally like a clip of the front. For those on YouTube, you can go back. It's the day 2 recap. The entire front is just messed up. And literally all I did was I wanted to trim like 3 seconds off the front. And then I looked back at it like, what did they do to my video? And I can't change it. I can't do anything because YouTube did it. And so that's the way it is. So now if you want to listen to the full thing, you just got to download the show on your favorite podcast app. But PayPal, last question. Is anybody getting a contract extension for the rest of this preseason, the entire preseason into the actual start of the season? Are you predicting anybody's going to be re-signed?
Man, the one that does come to mind is Mooney.
Okay.
That's kind of the only one I could maybe see to like have that continuity. It seems like continuity and like is kind of the big word, honestly, that's been floating around. Even like not just us, but like the players and the coaches. It sounds like that's kind of what they want now. Like everything was been changing the last 2 years of just players coming in, players coming out. Now it's like let's have this group of guys that we can trust in and have a continuity around it. So Mooney is kind of on my list. But it is interesting with how Tyler Scott is definitely that deep ball guy. And if they do see a value of him potentially kind of taking his spot or something next year. But wouldn't be surprised if Mooney honestly got it, because he kind of embodies Chicago, like the Chicago Bears and what they who they are.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's where he's also another candidate to step up too, because of that ankle because of the foot, and kind of truly play and get the actual 11-on-11 reps. And then Jalen Johnson. I think Jalen Johnson, I still feel, because I'll at least like discuss him a little bit. I just think that Jalen Johnson, the Bears probably want to see what they have with him. And I think that's going to be the big piece is see what you have with him, see how he plays out the season. And I don't know why I get like a vibe that the Bears don't think he's the guy. I don't know if you have
Yeah.
the same vibe. Like, I don't know. I just get that vibe where they're like, we want our corners, but that's where he was. Did you hear his contract discussion? It was so humble. It was awesome. I absolutely
Yeah.
loved it. And yeah.
Yeah, I think I honestly I think the Bears kind of trusted him. I mean, it's hard to read. I've always been kind of trying to read the coaches, of kind of how they speak around certain people, and it seems like from what our defensive coordinator kind of talked about, Jalen Johnson really respects him and just talks highly of him. So, of just like his work ethic and not even realizing that he's had all this drama around him with the contract negotiation. So, I honestly I think I'm kind of more on the Jalen Johnson will get signed just because he's consistent. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And also PayPal, if you saw me looking down at my phone, it's because I was looking at our phone. And yeah, we have comments. We have chats.
we do.
Everybody out there watching, thank you so much. The only comment I have is sample comment by this generic person that says comments will appear here once the broadcast starts.
Man,
So-
he's got he's got the bad balding going on. It's poor guy.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna like quickly go through some of these. Don Burr came in. We have Philip saying he wants Yannick. Same thing with Bears Bones. Joseph was saying Yannick still so loose on the rush. I'm not sure. Looking for a multi-year deal. I do agree with Joseph on that for sure. And then Cornelius says Hunter was a pipe dream, but any of the remaining guys will do for 1 year. Willie's saying Bears signed Yannick ? Yeah, Renewable says the power of polls compels you. Yeah, we got some good. And then Chase Claypool out there with Ron about someone who stepping it up, I believe. Yeah, lots of stuff. I am sorry. I got to fix this thing. So all those in the comments, thank you so much. Make sure to like at least. I got to go through that. You can copy and paste it after this is live, and I'll respond back to each and every one of you. And those watching later on, I will personally respond back to each one of you. But thank you, everybody, for everything, liking, watching the show. The show's been doing great recently, and I just want to thank everybody that have been here. We're coming up on 2 years with being a show, which is crazy to say, but
Yeah.
we appreciate every single one of you, everybody that shares it out, everybody that likes, everybody that comments. And it's weird that I don't see the live chat. I don't see everybody that normally is out there.
Right? It's always so nice to see all the comments that come in. That's one of my favorite parts. Like, that's why we go live. I mean, we've had a handful of shows where we don't go live, but it's always awesome seeing everyone's comments and, kind of seeing reoccurring names. And it's like, we see that, like, we see all the names, like, especially Renewable. He was always an OG of the show, and kind of just, we see new ones now. And it's like, we hope we just keep seeing them. It's always fun. It's a fun little community.
So if you're new, welcome. Also, everybody out in podcast land, you are not forgotten. Make sure to rate the show 5 stars, and also look for the podcast everywhere you get your podcast. Just search for Unbearable Sports. We will be bringing you the same coverage we have been, the quick little episodes breaking down training camp, so you want to stay tuned. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.